Welcome everybody. We're going to get started here in just a minute, but thank you guys for taking time on a Wednesday, 6 p.m. I know a lot of you guys drove for this, but it's going to be a lot of good information. We're going to be talking about estate planning, all the benefits of it, how it helps you. Ariel and Adela are Ariel's going to be presenting. So he started in this industry almost 20 years ago and started Arrive with Adela 8 years ago. So I just joined the team a couple years ago, and my story is a little bit unique. I knew the importance of estate planning. However, like many people, I kind of kicked the can down the road, didn't get it in place, and I sold my company several years ago. And then after a year of that, I ended up with a severe heart issue. I had congenital heart failure for the second time, and now I'm in the hospital and didn't really know if I was going to survive. And my wife and I and the three kids, we had to deal with this. And Ariel and Adela were nice enough to come to our hospital and do our estate plan. And the reason why was, number one, I didn't know if insurance was going to pay for this. And we had, had some money saved away, but not near what I was about to go through. It would end up being about $2.6 million what it cost for heart transplant, all the hospital for 2 months. And unfortunately, insurance didn't cover that. But they helped us set up a trust. They helped us move our assets into the trust. They did it the right way. And I know a lot of attorneys from my old business. I helped a lot of them, do their marketing. A lot of friends of mine, they don't go that extra mile to help fund usually your estate plan. And that's one of the things we really do, because we're a full-on retirement planning company. We need to make sure that that's done correctly. So you guys are going to get a lot of great information. Ariel's a family guy, extremely, he's a great presenter, but he's extremely smart in this industry. I've learned from him from day one. I mean, he is my mentor in this business. So it's his wife, Adela. Excited to have him. Ariel, come on up.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Josh, thank you for making me look really good, man. I need all the help I can get. So
Pay me later.
I'll pay. The Venmo's on the way. Yeah, you know what? Josh's story, man. Josh and I were friends before that, and it really. I love telling his story because I think that's most of us when it comes to estate planning. Because I equal estate planning to like going to the dentist, right? Like it's like when you have a tooth that's bothering you, and I've been there, right? And you need to go to the dentist, but you're like, can I put this off? Can I put this off? Can I put this off? Until it's so bad that you're like, I gotta just get it done. So Josh's story is a powerful story because he was only 40 years old and had heart failure. And I think for most of us, I'll be 47 in a few weeks, but for most of us, we're like, 40, you don't even worry about it, you're fine. But it just kind of goes to show you that when it comes to estate planning, there is never an ideal time to get it done. The best time was yesterday, the next best time is today, and obviously the next one is tomorrow, right? So what I'm going to do is kind of hopefully hit some goals for you guys. The number one thing is we want to make sure you get your questions answered. We want to make sure that you leave here, and honestly, like I would love to have everybody here as a client, but that's not why you're here. The reason why you're here is because you want to get your questions answered. At some point, estate planning has come to mind, and to some degree is important to you, right? To some degree it is. And the number one reason why you're here is we want to get your questions answered, and that'll be the goal at the end of today. Now, obviously, we would love to have your business. We would love to help out more people, but today is about you, and we want to make sure before you leave here that you are taken care of. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about estate planning, right? What your legacy, estate planning, assurance and understanding. Now I'm going to just hit on this real quick, just because there's some really great looking people up here. My wife is amazing, right? I heard her talking about golfing. I want you to know it's unfair. I've been golfing for probably 12 to 13, 14, 15 years. I kind of lose track. She's been golfing for like 6, and she's already better than me. Okay. So she's actually the CEO of the company. And you got Josh. Like, I'm going to just tell you, Josh's story is amazing. But one of the number one reason why I love Josh, and there's no pun intended, the dude's got a big heart. Like he does. He's got a big heart. I love that guy, right? But he's a really good guy. And if you guys ever get a chance to just sit down and chit chat with him, you guys will love him. His wife's amazing too. She's right there in that beautiful little dress.
thinks I gave birth to her.
So, what brings you here, right? Understanding estate planning essentials, learn strategies to avoid probate. How many of you guys have ever had to deal with any degree of probate? Okay, it's like pulling teeth, times 10. Okay, keep family and assets protected are the main reasons why most people come to an estate planning seminar. So what is estate planning? How many of you guys before today kind of had an idea what estate planning was? You know, kind of, sort of. I mean, there's so much information online today. It gets to a point where it helps you, but then you keep on going, then it confuses you. Does that sound about right? Yeah. And so what is estate planning? Well, it organizes assets and affairs. Right, my grandma just passed away. I'll actually be in California. I'll be at a funeral. My grandma was 88 years old. She passed away a couple weeks ago. And I know she's 88 years old, and you're like, it's kind of expected, but we were just there the weekend before, and she was fine. She was fine. And thank God, my wife and I, we had a chance to kind of sit down with her and hang out with grandma for a while. And I know grandma was 88, but I'm like, man, like if I would have known, I would have hung out with her some more instead of going in the backyard and talking to my brother about something I don't know, who knows, probably about softball or something. Estate planning ensures that your wishes are fulfilled. Your wishes, not the state's wishes for your stuff. Manages preservation, administration, and people forget this one, distribution of your assets. A lot of us forget that part when it comes to planning your estate. Who gets what? It eliminates a lot of the headache, clears up a lot of the fog, a lot of the stuff that needs to be taken care of. And do me a favor, if you do have a question, write it down. That's why we gave you those notepads, because we're going to have a time. We're going to get them all knocked out at the end. So who's estate planning for? How many of us here right now, with the show of hands, actually has an estate plan today? Okay. Well, estate planning, blended families. Do we have any blended families in the room? Okay. Minor children, special needs children, disabled adults, right? Those with specific health and end-of-life wishes. Individuals with assets in other states. My wife and I own property in a few other different states. Anybody else, any property or any kind of assets in another state? Homeowners or with rental property owners. Business owners. Any business owners in the room? Yeah. Individuals seeking to avoid family conflicts. Yeah, that's a huge one. I hate to say this, but this brings out the worst in people. Like, I've been in the industry now for going on 20 years, and I have literally seen a family break up over $1,000. It's insane. And it wasn't our family, but one of our clients' families. They actually fought at the casket. Isn't that crazy? Kind of wish I was there to see it, because you're like, it's one of those stories you don't believe it until you're like, but yeah, it was one of our clients. And then, those wanting to minimize taxes and legal fees. Look, bottom line is, you've all these years, you've done the right things, you've checked the right boxes, and it's up to you to make sure that it stays with the family, it doesn't go to Uncle Sam. Does that sound about right? Yeah, for sure. That's what we've done our entire life. So, key components of an estate plan, and it is a bunch of different components, right? And all of them are very relevant to the entire picture. So number one is a will. How many of us believed before today that you thought a will was enough? A lot of us do, because if you read online, they're like, oh, just go get a will. You can go down to Office Depot and you can get it for $50 and do it yourself. Well, one, I don't trust myself to do it myself, right? I probably want it done the right way. So a will is a legal document outlining your wishes. They say a will is a wish on paper. When you take it to court, the judge will take it into consideration. Nothing beyond that. But he'll consider it. He'll consider what you have on that document. Okay? A trust. A legal arrangement where your trustee manages assets for your beneficiaries. You will appoint a trustee. For my wife and I, my wife and I have been married for 27 years. We got 4 amazing kids. But if you have kids, you know what? They all have different personalities, right? So what do? I'm like, well, I got one kid, and he's really smart here, really good with money, kind of businessy. And he would probably pull the plug right away. And I've got another kid. This kid's all heart. He loves mom and dad, really compassionate. And I'm like, let's put them both together as co-trustees. That way they kind of balance each other out. And I'm like, if I've got a 50-50 chance, son, don't pull that thing too soon. Okay, so that's who that a legal arrangement for the trustee that manages your assets for your beneficiaries. Avoiding probate. Do you guys know what probate is? Okay, do you guys know it like pretty well? Or you kind of have just kind of what you read online, or do you know somebody that went through probate and you've heard stories?
Yeah, I've heard stories.
Stories, right? I think all of us know somebody that has stories. Well, we're going to get into a little bit more detail so that way you really understand what it is today. Reduce estate taxes, right? Uncle Sam's always looking for a way to get you, and then protect your assets. That's a trust. Power of attorney. How many of us here have a power of attorney today? Okay. For those of you guys that are attending, I don't know if you guys know this, or whoever invited you, I don't know if they relayed this information to you, but you're actually going to we're going to set up a time where you can come back and you can get a free power of attorney. Notarized, dialed in, it's yours, just as a thank you for showing up today. Okay? So make sure you guys get that done. Make sure you get with whoever invited you to set up time. What does it do, POA? It grants legal authority to another person used when you are unable or unavailable to act for yourself. So when we went down to the hospital, and Josh is like, God willing, I'm going to be okay, but I need to have stuff in order in case of, right? Healthcare proxy, medical power of attorney grants legal authority for someone to communicate with the doctors and need to make decisions on your behalf. Just so you know, how many of us have kids that are like, they're over 18 but not yet on their own? We do, okay? When kids are like that, did you know that if they need medical assistance, even though your mom and dad, they may live with you, you may pay for 99% of what they live off of, you have no authority to say anything because they're an adult. Okay. Used again when you're unable to act for yourself. Living will, advanced healthcare directive is a legal document that spells out your wishes for medical care. Used when you are now unable again to make decisions for yourself in regards to end of life care. Beneficiary designations. This is where you alleviate the family drama. That way it's not, well, dad said, mom said, you don't have uncle flying in, said, my brother said he was going to give me his 57 Chevy that's been in the garage for all these years, right? Beneficiary designations is a legal document that specifies who receives certain assets, whether it's life insurance, retirement accounts, bank accounts, home, rental properties, or any other assets that you may have. Number 7 is guardianship for minor children with special needs. Did we have any families with special needs children? Okay, that's a big deal, right? I didn't know this before we started doing estate planning, but if you have special needs children and they get assistance from the government, and somehow they come across a nice chunk of change, those benefits can stop. Okay, I don't know if we know that. I had to learn that, and I'm like, wow, I did not know that. More people need to know about it, because that's scary, right? Guardianship for minor children, special needs, and disabled adults legally names guardians for children or dependents, ensuring care for education, housing, and welfare. Right there it says, protects their eligibility for government benefits. We have a friend that's in California, and Jake is he's autistic. He's full functioning, though he's got a job and stuff. But mom and dad are going to have to take care of him for the rest of his life, and they have to have things in order to make sure that if something does happen to mom and dad, that sister or whoever else they designate can take care of Jake. Okay. Asset protection, right? Strategies to shield wealth. You spent all these years doing the right thing to not check the last box at the very end and let Uncle Sam get all in your business and figure out who he decides is going to get what. Okay? Creditors, it shields wealth from creditors, lawsuit, taxes, and probate. Okay? And then there's number 9, which is a pour over will. A lot of people forget about this one. Serves as a safety net for untransferred assets, streamlines the distribution of the estate, ensures privacy following probate. While it doesn't completely bypass probate, it assists the consolidation of assets into the trust. Okay, again, if you guys have questions on that, just write them down and we can go into that further detail. Any questions real quick, though, on anything that I've covered so far? Are you guys understanding the information? Is it making sense? Pretty clear? I'm not talking too fast? Okay, good. So who's estate planning for? right? Reasons why Americans have not engaged in this. So let me ask you guys a question. What brings you in today? Well, which one of these is you? Haven't gotten around? How many of us just haven't gotten around to it? That's a lot of us, right? Just that's why it's number one. They just haven't just been busy. Life's busy. Okay. Don't have enough assets. I think before I started doing estate planning, I believe that was probably a big consideration. Was people kind of feel like, well, I'm not rich. I don't have a bunch of different assets, so they feel like they don't need one. Too young. You know, I've seen a lot of bad stuff happen to a lot of young families. I don't know if you're ever too young because you can always revise them as your life changes and as your life grows, right? Don't know how. Too expensive to set up. That's huge. I mean, I just talked to a client and he paid 10 years ago right about $12,000. 10 years ago. What is that in today's dollars? Probably like 15 to 16,000. It's crazy. Okay. No one to leave assets to. If you guys have that problem, I will give you guys my information before we leave here today. I'll gladly take that burden off your hands. Okay? No problem. Too much debt. A lot of people feel like, I just got so much debt. Like, there's a reason why we need to protect your stuff. Okay? But again, this is number one for a reason. What I found is with the clients that we meet on a daily basis, it's just busy life. So how many of you guys are familiar with these three faces here?
Yeah.
Right? Aretha, woo! Michael Jackson, Prince. Well, let's talk about estate planning and why it matters. Check this. This is just unbelievable. Let's talk about Aretha Franklin, right? She died in 2018. Her estate was worth roughly about $80 million. It settled 5 years later in 2023 for $6 million. How did they go from 80 to 6? Well, legal fees, unpaid taxes, and then admin costs. Who would think that Aretha Franklin didn't have an estate plan? Like, who was handling her stuff? That's basic stuff, right? Let's talk about Michael Jackson. Now, this is crazy here. It's still not settled. Passed away in 2009. Estate worth about $2 billion estate. Okay, not yet settled. You guys want to know why it's not yet settled? IRS is trying to still figure out how to pay themselves. Valuation is still pending. They're like, what if it's 2.5? Uncle Sam really wants to make sure that he gets his cut. Okay? It's insane. He passed away in 2009. What is that? 16 years ago? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Prince. Died in 2016. $156.4 million was the estate was worth. Settled in 2022. By the way, out of nowhere, 6 half-siblings came into the picture and said, oh, we had the same dad or we had the same mom. I want a piece of that estate. Okay, so you would think that Aretha, Michael, and Prince would have everything dialed in. And what I'm going to just tell you guys, I've met with some extremely wealthy clients, and they're really good at making money. Really good at making money. But it's all this back-end stuff that they don't know what to do. And they don't even know who to go to get the help. Does this make sense to you guys? You guys know anybody like that? They're really good, really great business owners, but man, just a lot of their stuff internally is not as good as we thought it was going to be. So, whether you think you do or you don't, you have an estate today. Do you guys know that? You do. Give yourselves a hand. Congratulations, guys. Yeah, you got an estate. Here's the problem. It's the state's way. Right? Congratulations. Right? It's like a default. Like, well, let's talk about the state's way. You didn't get your stuff done. Let's see what Uncle Sam has in store for us. Well, guess what? Let's talk about probate court. Simple stuff, it'll be done within a year. Okay? It's tied up in court, it'll be done within a year. Moderate estates, 12 to 18 months. Complicated estates, well, as we've seen from the previous slide with the celebrities, it says 1 to 3 years. Who knows? Okay. Number 2 is probate fees. Let's talk about fees. Well, the average estate value is going to cost you about 3 to 8% of the value of the estate. Average is $15,000 to $35,000 in probate fees. What are those fees broken down into? Court filings, attorney fees, executive fees, appraisal fees, because they need to know what your estate is worth. Okay? What we charge here at Arrive Financial is $19.95, and again, for you guys attending today, everybody's getting $200 off if you choose to take advantage of it. It's up to you guys. Okay, $17.95, and it's fully executed, fully funded, assets transferred over, notarized, done, bound, everything done for you guys to take it home, no problem. Okay. Number 3, family disputes. Again, we talked about this. Things can get really bad. Disputes can occur from wishes made without sound judgment, unequal distributions. That's what was the problem with the other families we were talking about. One brother felt he should have got more compared to this other brother, and it was just a headache. Ex-spouses. Do we have any ex-spouses? No, just playing. You don't have to raise your hand. Right? Don't raise your hand. It's okay. Stepchildren and estranged children, and heirs residing in a family home. What that means is, let's just say mom and dad have a home, and they have a son that is just one of these, failure to launch guy. He just never quite could move out of mom and dad's house, right? But he's lived with mom and dad his entire life. Something happens to mom and dad. The problem with this is he kind of is feeling like this house is mine. When he's got 2 siblings that are like, whoa, hold on. They were our parents too. So again, that's the state's way. The state will figure that out for you. Loved ones in limbo. This is really sad, and it's really a lot of work on the back end. We've helped a ton of our clients out that didn't have this stuff taken care of, and it's really actually tough to do, and it's time consuming. No access to bank accounts. Okay. One of the first things I did when we started doing this years ago was I went to my mom. I'm like, Mom, look, because my grandma, when I just passed away, lives with my mom. I'm like, Mom, look, you have to make sure. My mom does have an estate, by the way. But I'm like, Mom, you have to make sure that you are on grandma's accounts. You got to make sure that you got grandma's power of attorney. You got to make sure you got all of grandma's stuff done. But that's one of the biggest headaches is they don't have access to these accounts, and the banks aren't going to release any information. Okay, you got to go through a process to do that. Bills, mortgage, utilities go unpaid. Unable to sell the property or live in the property, assets may be frozen until court appoints an executor. So check this out, true story. I had a client that lost a home that was paid off. It was his parents' house, paid off. Went into probate court because they didn't have an estate plan. It took them almost 4 years to get it done. There was unpaid taxes because nobody was paying the taxes the last 3 to 4 years. And I want to say it was close to like $12,000 or $13,000 or something like that. Well, none of the siblings had 12 or 13 grand, and I guess their credit wasn't very good because nobody could get a loan. I'm like, I'll figure out a way. I'll collect cans, whatever I got to do, right? To get a house that's paid off, 12, 13 grand, I'll figure it out. I'll go donate blood, plasma, whatever I got to do. But anyways, the state took the house because they couldn't pay their taxes. Okay, so you have a choice. Just get it done. Peace of mind. Or Uncle Sam will just go knock it out for you, no problem. Okay, choice is yours. So we were told a story that, hey, I thought that when you passed away, all your debt just kind of vanished. If that was true, then what you do is go find the oldest relative, ever taken a line of credit, and you go have a great time. That's the way to do it. Okay? So the average American passes away with about $62,000 in debt, including the mortgage. Right? Type of debt, mortgage, credit card, which is revolving unsecured debt, auto loans, student loans. God, these student loans are insane. Right? One of my goals was, I got 3 boys right now at GCU, and one of my goals was to get them out of school with no debt. Thank God I've been able to do that, but it's like, man, some of these kids are walking out of there with a mortgage with no house. Okay? Personal loans, medical bills. Average balance of the mortgage that's left unpaid. Just say grandma's had her house. She's been in it for 30-something years. Usually got, if she refied it, 35 to 40,000. Credit card debt is 4 to 6,000. You guys see the numbers up there, 10 to 15,000 for cars. But 10 to 15,000 for cars nowadays is pretty cheap, right? Student loans, 50, 20. I think that's be modest, but that's what they're passing away with. And then personal loans can vary, but these bills they have to get paid, right? And it says, who pays your debt? Well, your estate pays, right? Before any inheritance distributed, your estate must pay off final expenses, secured debts, unsecured debts, and any taxes that are owed to Uncle Sam. or to the state or whoever. As an executor appointed by probate court, the executor sells assets or uses cash from your estate to pay off debts. Okay? So your debt has to be paid. So when you decide to finally say, I got to get this done, I've been pushing it off, like we just said, that was the number one reason why people hadn't gotten an estate plan done yet. I've been kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road. I got to get this done. Here's what this is going to do for you guys. Well, number one, the heart of an estate plan is love. Like really when you think about what you've done is you put everything nice and neat. Yes, you protected your assets. You did all that cool stuff that's going to shield you from a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, it's because you love your family. Okay? Clear picture in place. Ease the burden. Focus on supporting one another. Avoiding the courtroom altogether. And peace of mind. Just like, zen, right? When you walk into those spas and you hear that little music going, the little waterfalls running, and you're like, I already feel better. That's what you're going to have when you get your estate plan done. That feeling of zen. Okay? You guys have been to a spa before, right? I'm not just, okay, good. I'm like, you guys are depriving yourselves. My wife and I go get pedicures every other week. And that's kind of zen for me too. Okay? So, nothing left to chance, right? 70% of trusts are improperly funded. So now here's the thing. You guys have friends that have trusts? This is a crazy number. Let's just say you go down to an attorney and he charges you 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 grand, whatever it is he's going to charge you to get your trust done. Did you know that it's actually probably not funded? What that means is there's no assets inside the trust. So imagine you have this beautiful 69 Camaro Super Sport, and it's supposed to have a 454 big block in it. You open up the hood, and there's nothing there. No tranny, no big block, no carburetor, nothing. No headers, nothing. What would you think? What the hell did I buy? It looks great in the garage. Well, that's your estate plan that's not funded. It looks great in the safe, but there's nothing inside of it. Right? Did you guys know that? You guys want to know the reason why they do that? Most attorneys will put themselves as trustees. You know what that is? That's called recurring revenue. Because when they see that it's not funded and the attorney is a trustee, you know what they're going to do? Oh, Mr. Attorney, I need you to help me with this. Oh, great. I'll bill by the hour. I learned that the hard way, right? Helping our clients. So with the living trust, no probate, private process, immediate access to the estates, to the assets, controlled distributions, protection for minors or special needs children. Without a living trust, you got to go through probate, public court records. So here's what this means, public court records. I didn't catch your name, brother. What's your name? Aaron. My name's Ariel, like the Little Mermaid. Pleasure to meet you. Aaron, right? Aaron and I were buddies. And we had a conversation a few months back. He doesn't know this yet, but we had one. We had a conversation a few months back, and I'm like, hey, Aaron, check this out. I know that baseball card collection you got, it's got a couple of Mickey Mantle rookie cards in there. I'm going to go ahead and hire your daughter, but I got to get those cards from you. And he agreed. He agreed, by the way, right? Guess what? If something happens to Aaron, and he's got that set of baseball cards that are beautifully taken care of, right, high value, I can go to the court and say, hey, we had this conversation. That's what he promised me. Now, here's the thing. May or may not fly, but the problem is it's stuck in court. It's stuck in court because they got to verify that I'm not telling the truth. Does that make sense? It's crazy. So anybody, when it gets public, anybody that says you owe him something can go to the court. He owes me this or that or whatever it is that they want. Okay? And like I was just saying, it may not fly, but it delays everything. What if you have kids? What if you got a spouse? Right? Lump sum may go to the heirs. Risk of court-appointed guardianship. I don't want the court appointing any guardianship. So, I asked before, none of us here actually have a trust, but here's the thing. It's okay to get a trust, even if you're young, or even if you're not sure, like you have enough assets, it doesn't even matter. Because as life changes, your trust is going to change along with it. Okay? Number one, why do you keep your trust updated? And I just helped a client out. He was actually supposed to be here today, but he's like, hey, you know what? I already know I need to get it done for mom and dad. You took up ours 2 weeks ago. I need to get my parents done. So we got an appointment. My wife and I are going to be with them on Friday. And he actually had one done 5 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was only like 5 years ago. But how many of you guys agree if you've been alive for a while, 5 years, a lot can happen? Right? A lot can happen. My wife tell you my daughter got married and moved to South Carolina? You know, so there's one thing to cry. I was weeping. Like, it hurt me. Like, it was one thing to get married. Like, okay, she was in town, still can go by, still beat her up a little bit, can make fun of her. She moved to South Carolina. And the next day, I went to, you guys don't need to hear this, so I'm going to give it to you guys anyways. The next day, I went and sat in her room and just stared, and I'm like, oh, man, that hurts. And she left her car here, Rocky. It's a little Ford Focus. That's her name. She named her Rocky. I guess she was like, come on, Rocky, you can make it, baby. You can make it. You can make it. Right? And I sat in Rocky, and it was funny because every family has like a group message, group text, right? So my son's like, hey, Dad, the Ford Focus, blah, blah, blah. Whoa, excuse yourself, son. Rocky. Right? Your sister called him Rocky. His name's Rocky. But what I'm trying to say is that life changes. I didn't know my daughter was going to get married 5 years ago. Right? COVID was still going on 5 years ago, so nobody thought anything was going to happen. Marriage, divorce, remarriage, birth, adoption of kids, a lot of stuff, a lot of things. Death of a spouse. And here's the crazy part. Like, you think, like my grandma's 88 years old. We actually had a client, my wife's client. He lives in Texas, and his wife actually passed away from childbirth. She was in her 30s. Childbirth. I'm like, does that even happen anymore? Yeah. She passed away during childhood. She got a text out of the blue one day, and she was like, oh! And I was like, what happened? She's like, I'm not going to say his name, but she's like, that's a very common name. Whatever. I just won't say it. But he's like, yeah, she ended up passing away during childbirth. And, yeah, we had him life insurance and stuff, and we had life insurance years ago, but that's not the point. But it's just sad, right? Life can happen. Your assets change, as you grow up, hopefully, or as things, you maybe make more money, whatever it is, maybe make a really good investment, maybe make a bad investment. Your assets change. You buy or sell a home, open a new bank account or investment accounts, inherit money. Man, that would be nice. If you guys have an inheritance, leave it to, sign me up. Right? Financial windfall, start or sell a business, right? Josh just said he sold his business. Your wishes change. Maybe that one son that was your favorite son isn't your favorite son anymore, or daughter, right? Change beneficiaries or their shares. Add protections for a beneficiary. Change trustee or guardian. So here's the cool part about an estate plan. Like I've seen my wife set this up numerous times for her clients. So if you have a daughter or a son and they obviously have a spouse, let's just say, right? You can choose to say, if something happens to my son or daughter, I actually want her share to go to my grandkids, not the spouse. But it's got to be designated, because if not, guess what's going to happen? It's going to the spouse. Okay, so there's a lot of cool stuff you can do within the estate plan that you can get really detailed on exactly what you want to happen. Okay, but it's okay if you get an estate plan. Don't worry about it changing. We can adjust it for you. It's not a big deal. It's very simple. We do it all the time. Now, questions. I see you guys, a lot of them writing this stuff down. Now, Josh, Adela, you guys might come up front and help me answer questions, because they know 10 times more than I do. They're just like, you're the dumb we can put in front of the room that can give a decent presentation. They're the actual smart ones that are going to help answer questions.
He's way too humble. Yeah. Well, what questions do you have?
Yeah, you guys have, who wants to start us off first? Break the ice. Who's first?
Living trust.
Yes.
Describe a living trust, how it works, and whether you have assets in it or not.
So that's exactly what everything that we just covered on the will, it's going to have all those key components: the revocable living trust, the certificate of trust, the last will and testament, your advanced healthcare directives, your financial powers of attorney. So it has all those components within it, and the 404 will. So the revocable living trust is ever changing. So I think a lot of times we say estate planning is essentially a living trust. And so the trust, a lot of times people say, well, what's the difference if I have, grandparents that are going to be on Medi, right? Medi-Cal, Medicare. And so a lot of times they do an irrevocable trust because it protects the assets. But there's a 5-year period where it's a look back, where you have to do it 5 years in advance. Otherwise, Uncle Sam assesses the assets that you had prior to those 5 years. And then you will be ineligible to essentially have those benefits. So you have an irrevocable and revocable living trust.
And I think part of your question was like funding it. Is that right? So when it comes to funding the trust itself, these are simple things that we prepare all the paperwork for you. You know, simple for us, but like you have to, if you own a home and you own multiple properties, what we do is we quitclaim that, meaning that we now put it in the trust name. So the trust owns all these things. So your bank accounts, we give you the documents you take into the bank, and it adds it. Usually you add that as a secondary beneficiary. You don't add that necessarily, the trust doesn't own that, but it's a beneficiary, so that money can go into the trust if you pass. Your retirement accounts, we prepare all of those things. So now the trust owns it. So upon your death, all that money, all of your assets can be funded in things like cars and whatnot. If you own it outright, same thing, you can retitle it in the trust name. And that's what we mean by owning the trust, owning things.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question?
I've got a question via our live stream here from Mr. Richardson. So he was wondering about our pricing. Is it a one-time fee? Is it a reoccurring fee? And also, do estate plans differ versus the state that they're in?
So it is a one-time fee, the $19.95, and obviously attending the $200 off. And then what was the other question? Sorry.
Does it differ by state?
Nope, it's all the same, all 50 states. Yes.
Good question.
Thank you.
So when life changes and you have to make changes
Mhm.
to your estate plan, is there, an addendum or whatever?
So we
are there
we call
fees
it
for that?
reinstatement, and we generally right now we do not charge for a reinstatement.
Okay.
So with the attorney-based software that we use with our partnership, they are talking about adding a $30 annual fee, but that hasn't been implemented in several years.
So
So
just to piggyback on that, so a lot of times, I'm surprised you guys haven't asked, because we're not attorneys, right? A lot of times people ask, like, how are you guys able to do trust if you guys are attorneys? Well, what happened was, this company that are attorneys look for advisors like ourselves that can handle the financial aspect of it. So my wife and I actually own part of that company, and so we're able to license their software. And so the attorney gives a final stamp of approval before everything is done. But they wanted to partner with us because they were finding, these group of attorneys were finding, like I just mentioned earlier, most of them aren't funded. So when they partner up with advisors like ourselves, we do the funding, they provide the legalities for it, therefore it makes it exactly what you guys are looking for.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't charge 10 grand or 20 grand or 5 grand. That's why.
And with that, what we do is we do annual reviews with all of our clients. So actually, I just emailed friends of several of us in the room. They just had twin daughters. He had twin daughters. And I had done his estate plan back in, I want to say, July of last year. I'm like, hey, Darwin, we need to update your estate plan because he already has 2 grown boys. We need to get the daughters in there and all that stuff. So I'm doing, there's no charge for that. But we want to make sure everything's up to date because, again, he's our client. And we want to make sure if, God forbid, something did happen to him, that they're not dealing with all of the probate and all that jazz.
Yeah, and Alyssa's our office manager here. We got other offices in California, even in Ohio and Texas, that are Arrive Financial. Locally, she's our office manager / assistant, and she will make sure that she bugs you to make sure we get back in front of you. And you may not like her for some time, but she will make sure we get back in front of you. A lot of the time. Hey, and I agree with you.
I think we tried to really work.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
And then I've actually got one more question here. Is probate different in each state?
Yes, and it's really depending on time frame. Time frame is the biggest one because every state has a succession plan. Most of them obviously is your spouse is the next of kin, right? And then it kind of goes into the lineage of like Prince, half siblings, right? Everybody that is a legal heir has rights to your estate. So if it has to go through probate, it goes through the succession of the state. And generally, again, it's spouse and then kids and then, continue aunts, uncles, and everybody else in the family lineage, and then it opens up. So, and then the time frame. So most states, especially when we went through COVID, that was a big one because there's death certificate.
Yeah.
Death certificate in order to get access to bank accounts, in order to get access to anything, to pay bills, you need that death certificate of verification. So unfortunately with COVID, we experienced the delay for that.
Like
you
3
know,
months to
3
get a
months.
death
So
certificate.
to help people
Yeah.
after the fact, because they didn't have an estate plan, we were just walking them through the steps because they didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest hurdle we had to deal with, was getting a death
Because
certificate.
government offices were on skeleton crews. Like
Yeah.
almost nobody was working. So what would normally take a week or two,
Yeah, it
It's
was
taking 3
8
months.
weeks,
6
12
months at
weeks,
some
some
states.
states, yeah. So it was really unfortunate to try to move assets. And then it was like, okay, we got it finally accessible to a bank, accessible to, pay those things. All right, well, now you have the widowed, and now we were able to do the trust and get all.
And
those
because
things
it
in
was so
place.
bad, life insurance policies were taking forever to pay out
Yeah.
because they needed a death certificate. So the family's like, I need to take care of mom, I need to take care of dad, I need to take care of grandma, but we need the money. But they're like, well, we need a death certificate. Well, it was just like a catch-22 all the way around.
I'll tell you just one quick horror story on probate, and this is a client of ours. Last year, one of my attorney friends like, hey, I know you're doing estate planning. I got a friend I'm sending over to you. He's 80 years old. He needs to reinstate his. He already had it. Named Ramon, very sweet guy, got all his stuff taken care of. But as I'm getting to know him, he's like, yeah, man, I had to get this done to make sure all my stuff, because he hadn't done it in like 15 years, and a lot of stuff had changed. He said, I was the executor. No, he wasn't the trustee because there was no trust in place for his niece in California. And his niece had quite the means. She was worth millions and millions of dollars, but she didn't have a trust. He said, we started the probate process 2 years ago. 60 relatives came out of nowhere to make a claim against her estate. He's like, so I knew it. And he's like, I have no money like that, but I don't want anybody having to deal with this stuff. And it still wasn't settled as of July.
I believe it.
These
Oh
things.
my gosh.
It's wild, right?
Yeah, in California, it takes an average, well, like Kern County takes an average about 45 days to get a court date, just to get a date. And that's providing you file correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know if this is a silly question. So when you're setting this up, do you have to put one spouse above the other? Like, so.
Do you have other spouses?
No,
That was clarifying, just saying.
So like the, head of household kind of thing, and then I become
So
the spouse.
you have
How
a
do you do
single
that?
grantor trust, or you have 2 grantor trusts. So if you're married, it's a 2 grantor, and it's generally both spouses become trustee,
Yeah.
right, if one should pass. But there are stipulations in there if you want it specifically for welfare and housing, that they don't have a lump sum distribution. It can change the trust, because there's a lot of couples that are concerned that, well, what if she gets a boyfriend after I'm gone and she's going to change it? And most of the time, it's set in there specifically for your children, to protect your kids and pass on the life that you built. So there are stipulations within the trust that you can designate that it becomes irrevocable upon the first passing of the first spouse. And same thing with the distributions, that it can't be changed. If you even get a divorce, you can have it in there that it stays intact because it's for your kids.
We're gonna say that?
Well, I was going to say, no, in addition to that, so you actually get to decide if you guys get to make all decisions, like anything that needs to be changed, you either do together or either one of you can do. So most people, obviously, if you're married, you choose, like, my wife and I, we have it to where we do it together, although we probably don't need to, like, hey, just do that, but
Yeah.
you get to make sure you do that together.
Requires signature
Yeah.
authorization from both parties.
Primarily though, you're each other's trustee,
Yeah.
and then if you guys are together on vacation or whatever, then it obviously it's kids or whatever you guys designate.
So you don't necessarily have to, but it is recommended that you do the spouse. But there are occasions that, they have a child as their, designated trustee as the primary. So it's strictly your choice.
Okay, what about the mechanics of putting this into place?
So trusts don't necessarily have to be registered with the states. So, a lot of times we set it up, they don't have to be registered. You can actually create a bank account. So you can take the certificate portion of the bank. Once we retitle the assets, we send the letters out to these companies. And then what they do, they notify you and say, hey, Glenn, we received this retitlement letter from you stating you have a trust now in place. Let's go ahead and make an appointment. So
Let's start before
Yes.
that.
So
I want to buy this. Now what?
now what? So we just set up an appointment to get all that dialed in. We submitted in your folder is an intake form. So the intake form is everything that we're going to go ahead and put through the trust, all the questions. There's a funding kit, the trust and provisions, and then the funding kit.
So ideally, there's like a 3-step process. So number one is activating your portal, paying for it, activating it. That way it's open. You can start thinking about a name for your trust or whatever you guys want to name it. The second step is we're going to get together. We're going to input your basic information, all the stuff you have. You're going to have other questions about the funding part. You may not have all the assets together. You may not have all the paperwork together. And then the third step is making sure we get all your assets dialed in. And then we do all the notarization, all the different final things, get it finalized, executed, and in your hands delivered. Normally it takes about 3 steps because, and really it just depends the type of assets that the client has. But then normally it's opening up your portal, getting it activated, getting the preliminary stuff done, and then the finally is like finishing up all the funding and getting everything dialed in. So it could take a few weeks.
And then I'll just say that it's like the information that you'll need if like you have cars, it's gonna be your title information.
Yeah, just get the registration
If
in
you
your
have
glove
your
box
house,
that you
it's
have.
gonna be your mortgage information.
your grade
If
A.
you have any businesses, it's gonna be your EIN numbers. If you have bank accounts, bank account numbers.
Yep.
all that kind of stuff.
Jess is right. And I just want to expand, just so, in your folder there, you have 2 separate documents in there. The first one is going to be where you choose your beneficiaries, you choose your trustee, your executor. You're going to list all of those things, all of your children. That's where you list all of those things. And then the other is your funding kit, where you start listing your assets, just so you know. So that's the process. You go through that, you fill it out. Jackie, you just did yours, right? Pretty simple.
It was easy.
I'm doing hers tomorrow morning. So you fill all that information out, and then once you have that, what you do is you send that to us. We put that in the computer, and usually we'll set up a video call for that so that we can go over it with you online to where you're not having to come down here. Then once you're like, yep, everything looks good, we get all the paperwork printed out, then you come meet us. So it's just getting everything signed and notarized. We give you a hard copy, and then we go ahead and upload a soft copy to your portal. So you always have access to that. Electronically. And if you're here in Arizona, which I think you're all here in Arizona, we actually upload your advanced health directives to the state. So if something happens, God forbid, and they can't get a hold of your spouse or your power of attorney, they have a record of it, and we do that step for you.
Does that answer your question?
Mhm.
Awesome. Any other questions online?
I know you got a few things written down, brother. You have any questions?
Well, I was taking notes.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Okay, so what do we got here? I want to make sure I finished. My wife did an amazing job putting this together. Let's give my wife a round of applause, you guys. This is not my deal. She's amazing at this. So I think each of you guys have one of these cards, right?
I'm gonna give them
Alyssa?
out, yes.
Okay, hand them out, please, if you don't mind. And then, if you notice, there's a Post-it here. And what that is, there's Post-its hanging in the back. If we have designated times, if you guys choose to want more information or ready to get started, go up there, grab a Post-it, we'll get you registered, we'll get you on the books, then we'll get things moving for you. That way you can.
For the free power of attorney.
Oh, and also grab those Post-its so we can get you on the books for the free power of attorney, and at least you can get that done as well. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Anybody else have any questions or anything you want to say, any input?
Thank
No, great information.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
6:50. You guys are good.
All right, I'm gonna keep it short. So how long have you guys known Alyssa?
Just a little while. I just met them actually. They were in the parking lot.
Oh, you just met him out like a 7-Eleven
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah, they were playing in the fountain. I was like,
Oh,
come on
they
in.
were swimming in the
Yeah.
No, she's amazing. I love having her here. She's fun to be around. She has the ability to get what's in my head and make it real.
It's a hard job.
You just.
Yeah, 'cause this is-
You're paying for the monster.
Yeah.
That's the big thing I do. She loves
I'm like, Alyssa, it's 9. I know. I'm on my second one.
And then I buy them and I bring them in here and everybody's on them now. That's how I get you. She's a good oldest child.
Is she? I can see that.
She'll be our trustee. So I'm glad you're learning all this.
She's a little short. She's gonna be like, how much you gonna cut? Yeah, pull it. Pull it.
She's the first kid. She's the one. She'll
Yeah.
be like, yeah, you're done.
70% chance survival? Nah, it's not enough. Pull it.
I gotta charge my phone, you know? Sorry. Need that outlet. My bad.
She's amazing. I love having her here. We enjoy having her here. She's very good at what she does. I put a lot on her plate. 'Cause I'm testing her, right? I'm like, let me see what she can handle. And she just gets better.
I try.
She does. And I've met when we were in the interview process, I've met a lot of applicants that are like, well, I can do this, I can do that. She's the only one where I give her more, and she just does it. I give her more, and she just figures it out. I give her